Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's new episode of Breakfast with Boom. And of course, we have some big news to get into as soon as we start. We're ripping the Band-Aid right off and we're going into some very disappointed news from yesterday. Everyone, including myself, was on the bus that Final Fantasy VII was finally, after 2 years, getting announced for the Xbox. And I even dare said it was coming to Xbox Game Pass. But like many people before me, I was incredibly wrong. I should be flogged for it because I was all excited for it. We're going to get into the disappointment of what that means. I know there's been a lot of talk. I mean, I was on fire last night. I sat back and I let 12 hours go by. And I understand that ultimately it's a business decision, but I have some information that why I'm disappointed, and we'll get into that momentarily. Let's introduce the people that are already here. Web Dave, what's going on, brother? How you feeling? Welcome.
I'm still kind of in mourning, but I'm feeling better. I feel hurt. I feel let down, but I'm ready to talk about it. I'm ready for us to move on. So I think us talking about it today will leave us all in a better place. But I'm fired up, man.
Yeah, it's going to be a good conversation. It's going to be an adult conversation. We already got, oh my God, almost 100 people already here. We literally just started, which is awesome. Crispy Bomb, what's going on, brother? You're going to have a lot to say. Final Fantasy VII exclusive, apparently. And what's been going on with you, man?
Well, yesterday was not good. I'm a Celtics fan, so unfortunately we did not get the chip. But I mean, it is what it is. The Final Fantasy is just, I don't get it, and that's for some of my friends that really wanted to play it on Xbox. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. We're gonna talk. Listen, folks. I know that this has been advertised. Everyone thinks this is going to be some sort of let's start the petition to not buy Square Enix games. If you don't want to buy their games, I hear you. I don't normally buy their games anyway. Final Fantasy VII, for me, that's my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. But we're going to get into it. And I just want to bring something up because I've been getting messages. People like, oh no, boom. The Square Enix never said it was coming to Xbox. Let me tell you something. That's BS. That is absolutely BS, because not only do I have a specific date, and you're going to see what I'm talking about, but they showed the freaking box art. Like, that's not, I didn't make that up. I didn't pull this out of my rear. They showed the Xbox green box with Final Fantasy VII, and then they pulled it down. So it was going to come to Xbox, and now it's not. And we'll break down why they're doing this, them specifically, and why Sony is at the forefront of this. But John Wolf, welcome to the program, brother. How you feeling?
Good morning, Boom. Good morning, panel. Good morning, everyone in the chat. Happy Friday, guys. Getting my turtle fix this morning. Looking at your gameplay right now, you're kicking some butt there with Donatello, Boom. The game is absolutely fantastic.
Oh man, it's a masterpiece. It is a masterpiece. Yeah,
it's so good, dude. And I'm really looking forward to tackle the topics, especially the Final Fantasy one, because me and you yesterday on XVlog Live, we went into why how Xbox has been able to kind of work their way into getting good graces with Japanese devs and publishers, and this just circles right around what we were talking about. So can't wait to get into it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conversation, and of course, Fuzzy Belvedere, Mr. Popular. What's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Greatly appreciate being here with you guys. But man, oh man, we got some stuff to hash out. But man,
yeah, you know what? Square disappoints us again. Look. Yeah. Before we get any further, okay. Obviously, everyone knows that I'm a retired NYPD, right? If you don't know, I'm actually one of the good guys. They used to call me Officer Friendly. What you see in this picture is really what I was in uniform. I did it for 21 years, went back to my old neighborhood, and spent my whole career that was absolutely amazing. So I say that to say that when I would go to court and I would try to put a bad guy behind bars, I needed evidence. I needed to I needed to produce evidence so we can prove such and such. Well, before we get into anyone calling me a bot, complaining about how Starfield, it's okay to be on Xbox, but Final Fantasy VII is not okay to be only on PlayStation. I own the collector's edition. Okay. And yes, as you can see, it looks sealed, but like a good collector, you can see that I politely slice just aside so I can keep the plastic in its integrity. Right now, I have the copy. I have the hard copy for the PlayStation 4. I upgraded. I have the digital version for the PlayStation 5. But what I talked about with evidence, folks, you think that I am bullshitting or I'm botting, if you will, for Xbox because I'm known as the Xbox dude, right? You can't specifically see it, but I'm going to take a picture and put it on the socials. See that white sticker that's right here? I'm going to read you verbatim. It says this: PlayStation exclusive, play first on PlayStation 4, and with an asterisk right at the bottom. Timed exclusive until 4/10/2021. Crispy, you didn't even know that.
I didn't even know that.
Right? Now that's I didn't put that on there. That's the sticker that's on the packaging of a PlayStation game. It was originally supposed to be a year exclusive. We all expected it to come out that spring. There were box art pictures everywhere. So this isn't me just, again, it's not me trying to hold the torch for Xbox, right? That's a fact. Now, am I disappointed? 1000%. I got halfway through the game. I don't know what turned my attention from finishing it, but I ultimately, in my mind, was like, well, if I don't finish it on the PlayStation 4, it's not a problem. It's my favorite Final Fantasy of all Final Fantasies. I loved it so much that when it launched on the PlayStation 1, I beat it in Japanese using FAQs. Right? I don't know if anyone even knows what I'm talking about. Those things you have to print out that gave you the translation. Right? Cost me hundreds of dollars of ink because back then ink was expensive. Beat it again when it launched on the American PlayStation because I imported everything back in the days. I have the PlayStation 4 hard copy and the digital PlayStation 5 upgrade. I'm in the bag, folks. So when the second one comes out, the second part, ultimately, I'm probably going to get it because I'm going to want to have to. It's my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. Now, am I getting 16? No. Am I going to get anything else after that? No. I don't really have an affinity for Square stuff. I just really don't. Final Fantasy VII is different for me personally. So yesterday they had the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and a community member known as the Snitch had put out on the socials that it would be coming for Xbox, and even more strangely, that it was actually going to release on the Switch via the cloud, which is okay. I mean, all right, if that's cool. Ultimately, that didn't happen. What was announced for multiple consoles was Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. Now, Dave, you finished the game. You consider it to be at least a good game. But this is what's interesting to me, and this is what I have my mind breaks trying to figure out Square Enix as a whole, and I say that because of this. Anyone that follows video games, as we all do, the near 220 people we have here, right? Square Enix is the company that has for almost every game that released, never happy. The sales never met their expectations, right? That's a known fact. It's a running joke with Square Enix. The reboot of Tomb Raider, right? When that came out in 2013, sold 8.5 million copies. It was the most in the history of the franchise. And I have that in front of me. I pulled an article, folks, because like I said, evidence.
And it was a damn good game too, Boom.
It's a fantastic game. I pulled a GamesBeat article that from VentureBeat, dated April 6th, 2015. And it says this: at 8.5 million units sold, Tomb Raider's 2013 reboot is the franchise's top seller. Don't you know that Square Enix came out and said it didn't meet their expectations? You're like, wait a second. Wait, hold on just a sec. This is the most that in the history of the franchise, which has a legacy on the PlayStation, and 8.5 million copies isn't enough. Okay, that seems ridiculous to me, but fine. I didn't invest the money. And then you look at what Final Fantasy VII Remake is reported to have moved in regards to units. I checked last night. 5 million. Now, what's interesting at that 5 million is that I can't honestly tell you that those are copies that have been sold. Because if we all know, PlayStation Plus was giving Final Fantasy VII Remake away. So now, I'm going to suggest that 5 million units that have been shipped probably includes the ones that they gave away. The same way Street Fighter V had 2.8 million copies sold, but ultimately moved 5+ million units because they gave it away on PlayStation Plus. So I'm going to equate the Final Fantasy VII the same way I would with Street Fighter V. Obviously, there are 115 million PlayStation 4s in the wild. Now, I'm not a mathematician, folks, but that is that's about 4.25% of the populace bought Final Fantasy or downloaded Final Fantasy VII Remake versus what's out there. This to me makes literally no sense. And again, let's talk numbers. Last year's MLB The Show sold slightly better on the Xbox than it sold on its own home console exclusive as a PlayStation. That's pretty interesting. So I think it's safe to say that if Final Fantasy VII Remake was in fact coming out, it would probably, and even if it wasn't coming to Xbox Game Pass, it probably would have sold pretty damn good. But now we know it's not. And here is where I have the big problem, folks. Okay? If Square comes out tomorrow and says, moving forward, all Square games are exclusive to the PlayStation 5, then you know what we do? If you like their games, you're going to buy them on a PlayStation 5. If you don't have a PlayStation 5, you're probably going to go out and buy one. Zero problems with that. My problem with Square is that they throw scraps at the Xbox community, expecting us to take up the mantle for them. And how do I come to that? Well, Final Fantasy 16 is coming to PlayStation as an exclusive. Is it a timed exclusive? Well, after Final Fantasy 7, I would say it's probably an exclusive. But what does Xbox get this year? They get Xbox. They get Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise. Right? What is that? The kid brother, the redheaded stepchild, the one that, the one on the street that no one cares about.
The chaos.
Right? Whoop-de-doo. PS5 gets Final Fantasy VII Remake, the trilogy, which was announced, that we have the second part coming out next year, right? Or, supposedly. And what are Xbox gamers going to get? They're going to get Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, which is ultimately a sequel to Final Fantasy VII. Again, scraps. It's literal scraps. So if this Final Fantasy VII remake not coming to Xbox bothers you, and it bothers a lot of people, you won't be buying any of these games. I didn't buy any of these games. I won't be buying any of those games on Xbox. Now, will I ultimately spend the money to get Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2? Yes, because I'm a diehard fan of that particular series, and I want to see the series through. I'm a video game fan. I'm a Xbox platform dude first. If I can play on anything, I'll play on Xbox first. But if I have to play on PlayStation, well, I'll do it. But I do want to go to Crispy first on this. You have a lot to say, and I'm interested to get your opinion on this. Ultimately, do Xbox gamers have the right to feel disappointed that it seems like Square is only giving the scraps to them?
You know, for me, it doesn't affect me, but I have a very, you know, I consider him my brother. I grew up with him. Final Fantasy, I mean, he could literally play that for the rest of time, and he is good with it. And this is where I go and say, we're not even asking for like the newest version. You're just asking to get the remake on there. You know, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Neither did he. And now that it hasn't happened after all this time, it has become apparent that there is something going on behind the scenes. That is my thought process on this. There's literally all the things that Square has been doing now are lining them up for Sony to purchase them.
100%. Absolutely.
You know, and that's just become more and more apparent. Now, the one thing I will say, I'll give Sony the credit, even though it hurts to say, they know how important Final Fantasy is for their platform. They know that it is a huge part of their multiplayer community. Okay, especially 16 will be huge in multiplayer. Okay, and they know that because, you know, like even him, like he live stat multiplayer on what 15 or whatever 14. I don't know what I freaking forget all.
I think
of
it's
them
14. You're talking about the
14.
MMO?
Yeah,
it's 14. Yeah.
So you know he no lives it.
15 is the one with the boy band Crispy.
Yeah, I don't. That's him. That's why I sent Boom what he said. I don't know what he's talking about. You know what I mean? Like for me, it's just it sucks for those type of people because I know there's plenty. Like you just got you know Kojima helping out over here. Like you know they're collaborating. You got Persona over here for people that like those games. They probably are playing Final Fantasy as well. So. You know, you look at that type and you say, well, you kind of just gave Xbox an L without even like, you know, giving them an L. Like you just said, like, Boom just showed the proof. Like we thought this was going to happen. And for all intensive purposes, it seemed likely and it seemed like it would. Why would you throw the sticker on there? You know what I'm saying? So what happened in between all that? So now you go into, you know, it's not even speculation at this point. It's you got rid of your Western division. You're lining yourself up to be purchased. Well, apparently it's by Sony. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, what else could they be doing? I mean, it's not going to be Microsoft purchasing them because they would have at least gotten, you know, the remake over here at this point.
Yep.
So who is it? It's nobody else, I could think.
Well, you know what? You know what this says to me, and again, it's simple deduction. It's not pointing fingers. It's not laughing. It's not bots versus ponies. We don't do that on this program. Right now, this is what we're seeing happen, Crispy. And again, this is my opinion. I could be 100% wrong. Please correct me in the chat if I am. This is Sony circling the wagons, right? And I say that because right now, as it stands, Microsoft has positioned themselves as the king of Western RPGs with owning Bethesda, Obsidian, and In Exile. Right, that's a fact.
Yep.
Sony, I know I read the article. I couldn't find it. There was I think it was Square Enix had put out an article saying that they wanted the PlayStation brand to be known as the brand of Final Fantasy. When they said that, I still held hope that Final Fantasy VII was going to come out because, like I said, I have the Sony sticker that says it was supposed to it's only exclusive until this date, right, in the spring of 21. But this is them protecting their brand. They finally and to back up what Crispy's saying, it's incredibly important to them. They need it for sure. So please continue, Crispy.
Well, and especially because, you know, at this point, you could see their model going to games as a service.
Yes.
You know, they're doing that with the Bungie acquisition, all that. But at the same time, you know, that MMO part, that's a huge part of you know, Final Fantasy and what, like I said, my buddy could sit here all day, like when he comes up and he could just play that all day. And it's like, it's just crazy. And like people are addicted to it like that. And that's like games as a service at the end of the day. It's there for you whenever, and it just never ends. And you know, that's where I go and say, we're look at this as like a slap in the face. It's like you might as well just say all Final Fantasy games are just exclusive now.
Pretty much, yeah.
You know, because this he said it's an okay game, but what was coming is nothing. Like it's basically it's laughable. Like he's like I guess I'm keeping my PlayStation 5 because he was hoping he could start transitioning to just having his Xbox because the ecosystem he considers a little bit better. But he's like, I have to have my Final Fantasy, and I know there's a lot of gamers like that. So Sony did what they should do, and I also dare say, Boom, that King of Western RPGs might be King of Racers as well for Xbox.
Indeed, they are kings of a lot of things, to be honest with you.
And that's the thing, and we've always had multiplayer, single player elements with Halo, Gears. Forza has always had that. So the multiplayer part, you're going to see PlayStation trying to catch up right now, rightfully so. But this is kind of like, come on, man, you couldn't at least just release that one and then that's it, like just to satisfy some people that fully expected, probably had the same box you had, Boom. We're like, oh, okay, I'll see it on Xbox at some point, cool, and then it never happens. I mean, it's kind of sad, and I don't know, I don't have much else to say about it.
Yeah, it again, it's disappointing when it was again, it's not, we're not assuming it was coming to Xbox. If people are running with this, people are running with, oh no, it was never announced. That's not true. I have the box art that proves otherwise, and I saw box art with the green that they pulled down. That's not I'm not suggesting it to try and win an argument. I'm telling you it's absolute fact because it says so right on the actual PlayStation packaging. So it was eventually coming, but again, this is Sony circling the wagons, because obviously they want people to buy their consoles. They want people to come to their console to play X game, which is why they have Spider-Man exclusives and Wolverine exclusives and the marketing rights for something like Hogwarts. Even though it's not exclusive, people are going to come to it because it's Harry Potter, right? It's Hogwarts. So people are gonna, they're gonna push the marketing brand like they do, and people are gonna be like, oh my God, it's only on PlayStation. That happened with Destiny. Right, this is business. But listen, before I get into the rest of the panel, I definitely got to thank the super chats that have come in. First one of the day comes to us from BarQ Andy. Drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, just sending some love to the chat and Boom. Happy Friday. Well, thank you so much for the generosity, brother, and we are glad that you are here. Jacob Novick drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, idea. Phil needs to talk to the FTC about how Sony got Final Fantasy VII Remake exclusive, then make one or two Call of Duty games exclusive or timed. Listen, it's business. I don't think the FTC would care. It's their company. They have a right to put a game that's money-hatted. And again, I think Crispy does actually make a great point. They are setting up to be purchased by Sony. Now, I don't know if that a purchase is announced this year. And I say that because they are being investigated by the FTC the same way Microsoft was being investigated, and they're being investigated for the Bungie purchase. So it's unlikely that they're going to make that announcement or purchase this year as soon as they get cleared for Bungie, which is a smaller amount. It's only and I say only because, I have that kind of money in the bank, 3.6 billion as opposed to near 70 billion. So it is a big difference. It's probably going to clear quicker. And once it clears, I would imagine that this is, we've been hearing this forever. I actually thought that when they shedded their skin with Eidos Montreal and Crystal D, I thought within 30 days we were going to get the announcement. I really thought that's what was going to happen, but it didn't. So, but ultimately, I think they're going to be Sony first party, and this is going to be Sony's way of keeping in the minds of gamers when it comes to JRPGs. Now, it's great that Microsoft has working with Atlas, they're working with Kojima. They are doing some things. They have a great relationship with Bandai Namco. So, if you want to play Final Fantasy and it's your bag, then you're going to have to probably ultimately get a PlayStation 4 or a 5, because at least they're going to be supporting PlayStation 4 for the next 4 or 5 years. Let's see. We have Jacob Novik drops an additional, very generous $5 super chat and says, or if the new Splinter Cell, a new Ninja Gaiden, which I think is potentially in the works, or the rumored new Time Splitters 4 exclusive to Xbox, that would be a huge get for them. Yeah, I don't necessarily see Microsoft doing the exclusive thing. Maybe with some, and we saw that with High on Life. They have the exclusive, and that's only been announced for Xbox. There is no time frame. They must have saw the game and they're like, hey, maybe they invested in it. I was and did something similar to what Sony did with Capcom on Street Fighter V. They helped fund it, and that's why they got it as not a timed exclusive, like a straight up exclusive. But it's, I think, and I've said this before, the exclusive for Xbox is Game Pass. You're seeing a game drop right on the Game Pass day and date, plays just as good as the PlayStation version, potentially better. And all I had to do is press download because I'm paid up until November 3rd of 2024. So I'm good. But we'll, again, we will see. Chaos Mike drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, how could Square expect Xbox game sales from a single side story game when they aren't selling the main story on Xbox? I said that before. That's a fantastic point. It's like you're telling a prequel side story, but we don't have the main story. Why am I going to buy that? Why would I give you any of my money? It's madness to me. Elemental Pio, wow, he drops a very generous $20 super chat. Says, happy Friday, gamers. Happy Friday, Boom and Panel. I'm not upset enough to say Xbox doesn't have enough third-party deals or exclusive content to say Sony shouldn't have this one. Xbox has a lot more, in my opinion. All gamers win. Yeah, if you support multiple consoles, then yeah, like I do, it's fine. I mean, I was kind of just very upset last night, but I have the game. I just have to finish it on the PlayStation 4. I'd rather finish it on my Xbox, to be honest with you, but such is life. Thanaros drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, as a huge Final Fantasy and Xbox fan, it sucks, but it's not personal. It's just business. Xbox pretty much has WRPGs or Western RPGs on lock, and Sony had to do something to fight back, which is what I said before, and that is a fantastic point. Web Dave, let's get your opinion. You were as disappointed as I was last night. We were talking in the DMs. Mm-hmm. You sat on it. You have some things to say. Ultimately, Xbox gamers get scraps, and which I'm not buying any of their games. I probably even wouldn't play them if they were in Game Pass. What are your thoughts moving forward? Was this a move that actually Sony literally had to do?
I definitely think that it was something that they it was a strong move on their part because they have the narrative for the Final Fantasy franchise.
Yep.
I mean, they have the 16 coming. They've already announced it's exclusive. The box art for even the sequel in the Final Fantasy VII series, the remake series, is Rebirth, and the box art they showed was for PlayStation 5 only. Didn't even show PlayStation 4 as that it was coming to it. So who knows? It may just be next gen, which would be good because it's a game that definitely deserves it. It's a great franchise. Simply people in chat are like, why are we even worried about this? And you know what? There are games made for everybody. And I like a variety of games, and Final Fantasy is one of the series that I really enjoy playing. So for me, it's important that it's on the Xbox, but I understand that other people couldn't give a flip about it, and that's cool. But and it's just that's a personal opinion. But the thing is, if it's a possibility, and they are definitely shooting themselves in the foot, not making as much money as they could.
Now, they're leaving money on the table, Dave.
Exactly.
Look, the numbers, Dave. You can argue points, Dave. Mm-hmm. We can argue what console is better than the other, who has better chips, who has faster speed. The one thing that we can't argue are the numbers.
Right.
The numbers we cannot argue. 5 million copies were shipped. Now, again, is 5 million a lot? Yes, 5 million of Final Fantasy VII Remake is a lot. But in conjunction of going up against 115 million PlayStation 4s in the wild, it's 4.25% of the populace bought this game. And again, to reiterate, if you missed it, welcoming the 400 people that are already here. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out Breakfast with Boom.
Yep.
I said in the opening that we cannot equate that 5 million to actual sales because they gave Final Fantasy VII Remake away and PlayStation Plus. So I can't honestly tell you that those are sales because Sony is very funny like that. They weren't talking about sales or even numbers when it came to Horizon Forbidden West. What they talk about, 8,472 smoke bombs were made, right? Great to know. Great to know that 8 million dinosaurs was killed using stealth. That's fantastic. I appreciate the info. Okay. But they didn't start talking about doing very well in NPDs until they started giving the game away in the PlayStation 5 bundle.
Yep.
So I mean, Sony, they're the marketing masters. Like them, love them, or hate them. That's what they do. But Dave, please continue.
Yeah, no, it's it definitely that they're in their gaming system. They gave it away as part of PlayStation Plus. That's how I first started playing it. Because I was kind of holding out a little bit to see when it was coming to Xbox. Now, one of the things I wanted to bring up to you, you talked about your box that you have. It says talked about it being an exclusive, and it definitely was a timed exclusive from our original understanding. I used to manage a GameStop. I know a lot of people that worked at GameStop. I moved on from GameStop at the time when that game came out, but I know for a fact that their marketing department sent them out like a couple of weeks before the supposed release date on Xbox. A huge selection of, reserve now, coming to coming soon to the Xbox One. Now,
Dave, this is what I am talking about. This, folks, let me just stop the presses.
Yep.
406 people here. This is someone that worked as a manager in GameStop, has zero reason to lie, and is telling you that he had the marketing material that didn't just suggest, actually said that it was coming to Xbox. So anyone that's going to try and I'm getting DMs all morning. Boom, you don't know what you're talking about. They never said. Well, here is more evidence for you folks that think that we're just bots. But please, Dave, continue with this unbelievable information.
Well, and then it was like, and then it didn't happen. And then we kind of found out through the back doors that it was like Sony, paid again for another full year of exclusivity.
Yep.
And from a corporate level, there was stuff ready to go at some GameStops, for this announcement that didn't come, and can't put it out because it didn't happen. So it's disappointing when like you Boom said, even if it didn't come to Game Pass,
they were getting $90 from me. I could tell you that right now. I would have bought the same boxed version, just said Xbox.
Yeah, well, I would have definitely purchased it myself. And also to kind of change focus a little bit, the announcement of the Crisis Core. I know there's a lot of people, like you said, why put that out if it's like a sequel to the Final Fantasy VII storyline, but yet you don't have that storyline to go with it. Why would you want to buy it? I've played that one as well on the PSP, and I absolutely enjoyed that game. I will be buying the new one when it comes out. I bought Strangers in Paradise, the Chaos thing. Was it as great as I thought it could be? No, but it was good enough for me. I enjoy playing that game.
But you like their games, and that's okay, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I play the Final Fantasy VII Remake on my PlayStation 5. So, but I wanted it for my Xbox because I wanted it on Game Pass where I could take it anywhere, to be honest.
Yeah.
Grab a Steam Deck and just go.
Hey, Dave, I was going to ask you a question because that's a very interesting point that you bring out with the GameStop material and them stating it was coming to Xbox. From a timing perspective, I find things to be a little bit funny because if you guys think about it, I think that Final Fantasy VII Remake came out in April of 2020, right? Is that correct or am I wrong there? I'm not. I don't remember.
You could be right. I don't know off the top of my head, dude.
But I think it was April 2020.
It definitely released in 2020. That is a fact.
Yeah. Isn't it funny that I think around September time, that's when Xbox made the announcement of the acquisition of Bethesda. So I wonder if that was a reaction to that announcement that
sure it is.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. This is all reactionary on Sony's part,
Because I mean, 100% Boom. Look, as a financial crimes subject expert matter myself, Boom, you presented a fantastic case, and it's hard to argue now with you and Web Dave that game was not coming to Xbox as suggested and as marketed, especially on that sticker art that you have there. I mean, the proof is in the pudding right there.
Yes,
it was coming to Xbox.
Absolutely. And again, it's a business move. It's not a business move that makes me happy, but I have two versions of the game. I have the PlayStation 4 hard copy and I have the digital PS5 version. I have the upgrade. I have it. I'm in the bag. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't me throwing a tantrum. What I'm disappointed about is I would much rather have finished this game. And I have more of an interest in achievements versus trophies. For people who don't have a PlayStation 4 or a PlayStation 5, this is very disappointing. Crispy Bomb's friend is a perfect example of that. He you know what I'm saying? He's a diehard fan. He was hoping to play it and convert himself going from PlayStation to come over to Xbox because that's a platform he'd rather play on. A lot of people in the chat are feeling that way. Am I going to cry, bot tears? No, because I already said I'm going to buy the freaking second part when it comes out for the PlayStation 5. I'm in the bag. It's my favorite Final Fantasy of all of them. I don't care for most of them. This one, because I have such an affection for it from the original, I will finish it. I ultimately now have to finish it on the PlayStation. It is what it is. And again, I said this earlier, and I want to bring this to John Wolf. This is Sony. Oh, you want to continue? Get Dave.
Well, I had another point, but
yeah, please.
To be honest with you, it went out of my head. So I would like to come back to it when I figure what the hell I was going to say.
That's me being long-winded.
No. It's all John's fault.
Yes, John. Listen, this is Sony's way of circling the wagons. They have to do something. Remember, Atlas games up until just announced were only on PlayStation, right? That's and that's no longer the case. Yakuza was only on PlayStation for many years. Now it's all over. Xbox. As a matter of fact, the last one dropped onto Xbox Game Pass, which is, I believe it was 7. So I think that the download numbers, slash the bag of monies that Microsoft is willing to pay to get these games onto their service for their fans is a thing. Apparently, like I said, it's all shaping up to Square Enix eventually becoming first party. When it happens, it's pretty much, it's not when, it's not if anymore. It's just when at this point.
100% on that.
What are your thoughts though? Regarding Final Fantasy VII, with all the information that we have provided everyone who thinks that we're all just making this stuff up, that it was never really announced, and here we are. I got the artwork on the box. Dave, who was a GameStop manager, actually had marketing material. What do you have any disappointment that it's not coming to Xbox?
I'm disappointed for people like yourself and Web Dave that you wanted to play the title on your preferred platform. And at this point, I'm also disappointed and a little bit frustrated that Square Enix has almost made this to be kind of like trolling a little bit. That presentation yesterday, they make a big stink, you know, and then all of a sudden they obviously it's to announce the big titles coming out, but then they're like, oh, it's available on Steam. And it's like, okay, you could have just added Xbox on there, right? But I guess business is business at the end of the day. I totally get the move. I don't. I'm not gonna hate on it. You can't hate the Sony for doing this. They're doing what they need to do. I think that a lot of frustration just comes in from a lot of the things that you talked about, Boom, such as Square Enix and their constant belittling of their Western devs and their numbers of sales and stuff like that. But then they do a move like this, and you're like, you're just left scratching your head because a developer like Crystal D, instead of being praised by Square, they get belittled and then eventually get sold off for $300 million. Okay, so it's a little bit hypocritical, and it's just a little bit like you just stand there and you just think like, what world am I living in? You know what I'm saying? So and also for 100%, I agree with you guys that with Crispy and you that Sony and Square Enix, they have unofficially confirmed that they're one and the same. Right.
Yes, pretty much.
So I mean, it's done. I mean, Final Fantasy 16 being exclusive and them knowing the power that the Final Fantasy 7 title has with gamers, it means something, because even me, that I'm not a big JRPG fan, I like Final Fantasy 7. I have ties to it because I played it on the PS1,
on the OG PlayStation. Yeah.
Right. So I do have ties with it. I remember when they announced that it was coming back, the remake, dude, that was a big deal. Okay, that was the E3 of Dreams, if you remember.
Yeah, E3 of Dreams. Yes. Yep. That's right.
Right. So even for me, I was like, wow, dude, that's huge for them to do that. And then obviously, good on them. They worked it out. They figured out how to make this a reality with Square. I just feel like them releasing Crisis Core on Xbox and
it's a slap in the face, dude. It really is.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
It's just.
We lost John.
He's so excited he blew a tube.
Yeah.
or his boss walked in the room. Dope.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, good. I'll make a point that I've.
Yes, please. Go ahead, Dave.
2 parts to it, real quick. One, talking about Square. And somebody put in the chat that they don't think Game Pass is very viable. Whatever. So they're crazy. That's all I don't mean to be disrespectful, but you don't really.
Well, again, are they championing the PlayStation $18 a month? If you are, then you're just a boob. Okay.
Exactly. Also, here's the thing. So, like when Square has games that they don't consider are doing as good as they think, what do they do to make up the income? What do they do to help themselves out? What do they do to increase their bottom line? They bring them to Game Pass.
They bring them to Xbox.
Exactly. So that's what they did with the Avengers. That's what they did with Guardians of the Galaxy. And that's what they did with when they were really stressing and worrying about Outriders, because they didn't feel like it was going to be as good a game or going to be as well accepted. They put it on Game Pass, and that's what saved those games. And that's what made those games a lot of money.
Yeah.
Was getting money from Microsoft. So Sony must be throwing a bunch of money at them, and probably is throwing some kind of let's face it, some kind of respect type thing for the Japanese culture at them. And
that's
of
course,
a great point. They could be doing that. One thing, the point I was trying to make earlier, and I'm so sorry to I mean, John, I'll give this right back to you. I promise.
No. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Is that right now, Xbox, Microsoft is kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for the acquisition to finish. Right. We are really hopeful that the acquisition will finish sooner than later, and I believe that it will be finished this year. I really think that we're in the end game on the acquisition, getting it wrapped up. Sony has also done some acquisitions. They are in a holding pattern, but they are they are under kind of the same situation as Microsoft was. Yep. Now that they're buying Bungie, they can't really do anything until that deal is done. Wouldn't it be funny if Microsoft got finished with their deal and went to Square and said, you know what? We know Sony offered you this much money, but we can offer you this much money.
You want to watch the world burn down, Dave. That's what you want.
And it's not to be spiteful. I personally think it would be a great buy for Microsoft to have a company like Square, a Japanese company, have a good foothold to help increase the sales of the Xbox in Japan. So for my thinking, it's not being spiteful against Sony. It's a good way for Xbox to continue to grow worldwide. But that's just me. That's a hopeful. That's not no rumors. No, that's just kind of a wishful thinking kind of thing. Wouldn't it be funny if? There you go, John. Back to you.
No, you're good. And I'm sorry about that, guys. I think that honestly, the two last points I was going to make, and then I'm really interested to hear what Fuzzy has to say, is that it's a double-edged sword when you want to say that to make a statement, we're not going to pick up Crisis Core to really stick it to Square, because at the same time, right, for those that are hopeful that Final Fantasy VII does eventually come to Xbox, what is that really going to tell Square if no one bought Crisis Core, right? I still think that it is going to come out, because it doesn't make sense, Boom, for them to release this prequel and then Final Fantasy VII is never going to come to Xbox.
Yeah,
Xbox
you're right. 100%.
Are never going to be able to finish the story. Come on, that's weird. It's just that the way that they have kind of positioned this, they've made people really scratch their head here and be like, you know what? I think for me personally, I'm just going to wait until the whole package is available. I can wait. There's plenty to play, and that's for myself. And the last point I'll make, right, that one of the things that I've seen a lot of people comment on, and I agree with 100%, because I do think it's hypocritical, and I like to kind of point this out. When Xbox announced that Tomb Raider was exclusive during the Xbox One days, they got lambasted for it. Okay, yeah, the media was all over them. Everybody on social media was very vocal, and
Sony fanboys lost their shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, speak on it.
And no matter what side you were on, right? No matter what side you were on, I guess that Phil saw the backlash and he unanimously said, you know what? So that we don't get backlash anymore, it's not a good idea to put beloved IP, to really go after them this way. I just kind of find it weird that same energy isn't brought to the PlayStation.
There's an industry double standard there, brother.
Yeah, and that's a little disappointing, because the thing is that it was cool to do it for the Tomb Raider thing, but now it's not cool. It's not cool for Xbox centric gamers to speak on how they feel about this subject. I just think that that's a little weird.
No, it's not weird, John. What we're seeing is, and again, I'm not going to embarrass the person, because we don't do that on this. You can come here, be free, give your opinions on one console being better than the other. It's fine. It's whatever. The person that says that Xbox Game Pass isn't viable, I don't know whether you're a Sony only person or not. If you are, that's cool, brother. You're welcome. You're welcome to here to hang out. But I don't want to see any DMs or any tweets from you saying that Sony's service is magnificent at $18 versus $15, and you're not getting day and date, right? Yep. So I mean, again, that kind of double standard that we see all too often about the people championing this, right? I always ask the question whether or not any of these people that are like that. All I'm going to say is that my block finger got tired last night, because all it did is expose about. I don't mind, having a conversation, but if you're gonna come at me and be argumentative, I'm not going to fight with you. Listen, it's a game. I own the game. I own 2 copies of the game, so I'm allowed to have an opinion. A lot of these console warriors, well, most of them they play Twitter. That's a fact. And Xbox has them too. They have knuckleheads just the same. But for some reason, Sony, because they're the market leader, there's more of them. But I do want to get the final point from Fuzzy. Fuzzy, what are your personal thoughts moving forward since this announcement last night, or the non-announcement that it was coming to Xbox?
It's really unfortunate. Like I think in this day and age where you have a lot of these companies trying to grow their brand and such, you would think that it would be in Square's best interest, but it seems like there's apparently kind of like what we're suspecting to some extent that they may just be folded under Sony at some point. It's just a matter of when the announcement type of deal. Um, I was expecting it at some point that it would come over. And typically these things that are like timed exclusives on one or the other console, when they come to the other one, it's like there's additional content. So there's still that hope, I guess, kind of like what John had hinted to, where once the story is a complete setup or the all the elements of the story are complete, that it may come over. But at this point in time, for me, Square is doing everything in its power to kind of make me second guess spending money on that brand. And I'm not calling for a boycott. For me, I'm more of a, I'll speak with my wallet silently type of deal. I already got most of the games that interest me from Square, and it was pretty cool when Final Fantasy 15 came to Game Pass. I'll be honest, even when I was a PlayStation cat, I wasn't really into Final Fantasy, but picked it up, with it being on Game Pass, it winds up being on sale, picked up the complete edition, and so be it. But if they don't want to come to my preferred platform, then it is what it is. I don't know if I even downloaded it when it went to PS Plus, because most of the time the main thing I'm playing over there has been GT7. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. Hopefully, at some point, if they are going to be part of PlayStation Studios, then it'll be. I mean, at this point, it seems pretty clear. But I would appreciate, kind of like what John said, if people had that same energy for when it's a third party. Now, if it's an exclusive within the camp, like at this point, Insomniac is within the camp of PlayStation. At this point, Bethesda is already in the camp with Xbox Studios. So those games at this point, there's no question about those being exclusive. But when you have a paid third party do it, it burns a little bit to some extent, and that's the part that I don't really appreciate. And when the media champions one and not the other, it just comes across as
how much Fuzzy, how much was the media in back of Pete Hines to get him to say whether the titles were exclusive or not?
Yes.
It was ridiculous. And I mean, the purchase had been made. Mm-hmm. And they're still going after asking the same question over and over and over. And the thing is, it's like
in every interview, it came to the point where I would have been like, listen, if you want an interview, you're not asking this question because we've already answered it. We're not going to change the way. Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, the media, nobody really asked Insomniac if, an upcoming, what do you call it? Sunset Overdrive would come to Xbox. Nope. Crickets. Nothing was said. So yeah, it just seems funny when it comes to the media. They'll of course champion the brand they grew up on in many cases, and then that other brand that here in the States and stuff with that green logo. Yeah, screw those guys, kind of thing. It seems, but Square. Hopefully this is your whatever decisions you guys are making are in your best interest for the future, but I kind of think they're not, unless Sony's already got like a handshake deal in the background that they're going to
more than likely. Again, this is why they got rid of their Western studios. They're putting themselves up for the purchase. There's just no doubt about it. It's again, it's not if anymore. It's just when is it going to happen? Dave, you want to say something, brother?
Yes, about that point, actually, about them kind of getting themselves ready to sell. Somebody in the chat, and they made a good point. They said, well, I would rather them buy like Capcom over with their franchises over Square. And yes, but Capcom has got themselves in a fantastic financial position.
Yep.
They don't need to be bought by anybody.
They're not going to.
They're too expensive. They got the Monster Hunter franchise, the remakes of the Resident Evil. All those things have incredibly boosted their sales up. So they're not in what you would call on the block to be purchased. Like EA has said, we're up for some negotiations. We're up for some talks. Square, if all these quote unquote games coming out have been bad for them, you know, they may be in some financial hurt that they're ready to be purchased. And even if Microsoft, quote unquote,
does anyone have any idea what the
them,
numbers are, Dave, of Final Fantasy Stranger's Paradise? That
I don't. I wish I did.
It probably sold horrendous.
Yeah, but the point would be that even if they bought somebody like Square, Microsoft still has enough money to buy 2 or 3 more big companies or a lot of different studio companies. They have a lot of money to spend, probably 10 or 15 times more money than Sony can get their hands on to spend. Yeah. Microsoft has. So even if Microsoft does buy somebody else big, that doesn't mean they're done. I guarantee you they won't be done. Anyway,
no,
sorry,
we heard when the Bethesda deal was done, the board was asking who's next, like
who's
Goldberg.
Next.
So
I guarantee you, as soon as this new one's done, that's what they're going to say again. Okay, who's next?
Hey, Boom! I used to own that turtle blimp that you just flew past by in the game.
Awesome.
Dude, this game is awesome, dude.
Yeah, this is a complete love letter for sure. But listen,
you got to play that, man.
Before we get to the next topic, and the next topic is going to focus around new information that comes the way of Hogue Law, who I tried to get. He's on the road. That's why he couldn't be here. We're going to get him back in July. In the first half hour of a couple of shows. By then, maybe there's more information to the ABK deal, but we're going to be talking about why that deal has now been put to the forefront of potentially being done this year. But before we do that, I got to thank some more super chats. Some really big bombs have been dropped. Sir X-Men, good friend of the show, and who was a guest on Primetime Gaming this Wednesday, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Square Enix will end up regretting not having Tomb Raider, and I believe Xbox will buy the developer of Tomb Raider after Activision deal. Yeah, you know what? You're on the same page as Kay Asante has been saying that the next one for them potentially would be the what's the name of it? Embracer Group.
Embracer,
which would be ridiculous, to be honest with you. But strange things have happened. Jacob Novick drops off an additional $5 super chat and says it should be illegal to pay for exclusivity if you're not funding the game, haven't bought the company's studio, or make it timed. Only in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I get you're mad, dude. I get you're upset, and you have every right to be, but that's just business, man. It's not cool, and it hurts if you only support one brand. And we're hoping for a game like Final Fantasy to release, which it was supposed to. It was money hatted, and that's what Sony does, and that's what they do very well. Danny Passion Official drops a very generous $5 super chat. Good friend of the program, says, I felt that Final Fantasy VII Remake isn't a great game. The combat isn't satisfying and has so many squeezing through aisles. I got bored playing. Yep, they lied. Yeah, I mean, great point. I mean, listen, I like the combat. I like the old school one, but I'm old, so there you go. Smuzz 246. Wow, he drops a very generous $20 super chat. Welcome back, Smuzz, and thank you for the generosity. He says, been a while since I've caught the show live. This is for you, Boom. Love all the content. Sony has lost too many exclusives. They are going to tighten the grip on what they have left. Indeed. That's a great point. And a good friend of the program, Gotham Guy, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, morning, Boom and friends. First of all, congrats to all of my warriors. Sorry, Crispy Bomb. And if Final Fantasy VII is releasing on Steam, then there's no reason they couldn't release it on Xbox. Sony gave them the bag. Yeah, it's true, brother. They absolutely did. And like I said, this is just them circling the wagons. But listen, I want to bring up, Hogue Law, who is widely known on the socials as well on YouTube. Who now officially has over 100,000 subscribers, which is congrats to Hogue Law on that unbelievable achievement. Obviously, he's been watching the ABK deal with a very, very keen eye. And what's interesting is a couple of months ago, Senator Warren, along with Bernie Sanders and a few other New York senators, wrote a letter to the FTC suggesting that the deal between Activision and Blizzard to eventually become first party by being acquired by Microsoft was bad for workers. And in that letter to the FTC at that time, they had the support of a union that thought this was going to be a problem moving forward, right? And we have just learned this week, and as soon as I give the floor to somebody, I'm going to pull up the article myself so I can get the exact specifics. I don't have it in front of me because I'm doing too many things. I should have had it ready, but apparently that union that was concerned about Microsoft's position when it came to workers has now officially teamed up with Microsoft. Microsoft has come forward to say that they are willing to accept all developers who want to unionize. It is a big deal. In fact, it's such a big deal, ladies and gentlemen, that they are the first gaming conglomerate to welcome in and allow for unionization of game developers. And I think that, again, if you, I'm going to link Hogue Law's video. He breaks it down really well. Him, along with many people in the industry and in the gaming, the gaming socials and spaces, believe that this gotcha moment that the FTC was waiting for in order to somehow block this deal has now they don't have a leg to stand on, and it appears. And again, this is just my opinion. This is the opinion of people that know this deal is more than likely going to get done, but it's more than likely potentially going to get done by year's end. Now, I can't say it's going to happen this summer, but some people are suggesting maybe mid-October, mid-September, October, maybe even before the actual release of Call of Duty. And, there's some people asking the question, and I don't know the actual business aspect of it. Could at that point Microsoft turn around and break the contract with Sony for marketing rights and release that as their first party game come the holiday? I don't think they could. If they broke the contract, they'd have to pay a hefty fine or at least pay Sony to break the contract. But at this point, one of the things that we don't know is if Sony still paid the hundreds of millions of dollars they would have to pay, which we're thinking is $300+ million for the marketing rights for Call of Duty, if ultimately it's going to be a first party game for Xbox anyway. I don't know. I know that they currently have the beta, and we saw we saw it up on the floor when they were showing off Call of Duty. It had the PlayStation controller prompts. So it's safe to assume that they probably still have the marketing rights, but do they have the full marketing rights? Well, we don't know because no one's talking about it. Let's bring in John Wolf on this conversation. John, are you there, brother?
I am.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on the revelation that this ABK deal, the biggest deal not only in gaming history, which was a couple of years ago, the Bethesda deal, literally the biggest deal in Microsoft company history, gets done this year, and how big of a deal would that actually be?
I think it has a really good chance of getting done, not only by what is being commented, but also I think that Microsoft's own attorney, Brad Smith. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think even he was pleasantly surprised how fast everything was coming along. Boom, I think that by all indications, this is a done deal. Sooner rather than later. I know that people are saying year's end. I think October, right now, any month that we kind of speculate would just be speculation because honestly, we have no way of knowing that. But it does sound like if their target was by next summer, the deal being closed and everything is moving along, you gotta at least think that it jumped up at least 6 months.
Yes.
So at least that's what I would think if I was the one making that call. For something to close 6 months early is pretty good. Let me tell you. I know in my world we get audited all the time, and things are expected to go for 6 months, and sometimes they're done in half, sometimes they're done in 3, sometimes 4, 5. It really all depends on how well everything goes and how fast things are being answered, and how much stuff there is to clean up, in other words, right? So from what he was saying, everything was moving along pleasantly fast. And to be honest with you, this type of announcement would be something that I think that Xbox would really benefit from, to carry a lot of momentum going into 2023. And in relation to your question with Call of Duty, will they break the contract? If you ask me, it would be the smart business move to do, because I think that they would want to start printing Call of Duty on those boxes as soon as possible. Because once they, if they're able to align themselves with Modern Warfare 2, which is arguably the biggest Call of Duty since Modern Warfare 1's release, you better believe that they're going to want to print that on those Series S boxes, and those things are going to be flying off the shelf. Okay, especially with PS5s being hard to find. I've never even seen a PS4 on the shelf anywhere in years, dude. I don't remember once
they stopped making it. I know that there was a report that they made 1 million more, but the PlayStation 4 is used. I think you can find easily new.
I see plenty of controllers, like when I go to Target and stuff, PS4 controllers, but I have yet to see a PS4, and obviously never a PS5 or a Series X. Never seen that before. So it would be to their best interest to do this, Boom. But it just speaks. This just speaks on everyone that was saying that this deal wasn't going to go through, that it was too big to happen, and that Microsoft was trying to corner the market and all that good stuff. It just goes to show you that it was just all fanboy speak and all that good stuff. And I think that they've done everything in their power to make sure that this deal goes through. In fact, Boom, I think that they have been on their best behavior since that announcement. I think that they've been very low key. They've played it very safe. I didn't have an opportunity to be on your panel this past Wednesday, but if I would have mentioned that I do think that this strategy that they had their game showcase was centered around this deal just a little bit. I think that this deal did have something to contribute to the business to their vision for the next of advertising only the next 12 months, because they didn't want to seem to the FTC. I would think that they don't want anything in the world to jeopardize this deal. Not even an acquisition of a Crystal D. Nothing. Right now in Camp Xbox and Microsoft is bigger than this deal. So that's why I think that they have really kept low key, and they didn't go full out in this showcase like I think they should have. Okay. Now, with that said,
you know what? That's a conspiracy theory of good friend of the program, Everborn Saga, who has been saying this. And again, I said this to him publicly and privately. He went from lunatic to prophet because I mean, everyone called, even Randall Thor was like, "No, man, you're crazy. They would not do that." And
to the extent, because I was actually on the on their show on the Saturday where we were kind of discussing this and went into it a little bit deeper. But look, do I think that Phil knocked on Todd Howard's door and said, "Hey, dude, you're taking the dive for the team"? No, I don't think so. I don't think that he went to the Redfall team and he said,
"Take one for the team, Todd, and I'll get you a new leather bomber."
Exactly. Nor do I think that he went to the Redfall team and he said, "Hey guys, this game looks like it needs a little bit more polish." And everybody just looked at him like if he had two heads. They're like, "What are you talking about, Phil?" He's like, yeah. Keep on working on it. 3 more months. Okay. I don't think that he did that. I think that they genuinely did need more time. So I don't think that they sabotaged their own games and releases that way. Because ultimately they did announce that those games were being released before the Activision Blizzard deal was announced. So I do think though that it did hinder their ability to really showcase everything that they had, because you're not boom when you're showing up to a trial, you want to show up, and you're trying to win a lawsuit or whatever. You don't want to go in there looking all good. You're going to go in there with the neck brace. You're going to go in there, you're going to go in there with the,
So basically what you're saying is you're going to limp in and do somersaults out after you win.
Exactly. All of a sudden you're going to roll in with the wheelchair and a miracle happened. Hallelujah. Benny Hinn is here. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that if this deal goes through, boom, by the end of the year, I think that'll be a big momentum shift for sure.
Yeah, well, one of the things that's interesting is Sarah Bond said that they anticipate putting as many titles up front as soon as the deal is done onto Xbox Game Pass. You're probably going to get every Call of Duty ever made.
Yep.
On Xbox Game Pass, along with a ridiculous amount of other titles that they're going to eventually own. Again, good stuff as always. Real quick, we had 500 people here this morning. We topped that at 516, which is bonkers. And I want to say welcome, everyone. If you are enjoying the banter, please hit the like button. We still have almost an hour left of the show, so hang out. We have a lot more to get into. If you were just finding the channel for the first time and you don't think I'm a madman or you enjoy what I had to say, please consider subscribing. We are marching towards 12,000 subscribers. We're just short of 11. And it would be great to hit that 12K. We hit 10K early on this year on the Iron Lords podcast in January. Those are my brothers. They helped me cross the line. And we know that they are sitting now they're sitting at 12.5, which is amazing. They so much deserve it. So consider subscribing to the channel. That would be pretty dope. Crispy, I want to get your opinion on something, brother, but I want to talk about these super chats. Nightwolf 3186 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Good morning, guys. Glad to see everyone. I'm glad to see you here, brother. Thank you for the generosity as always. Got to get back to work, but wanted to drop in and show some love. P.S. Give me Starfield now." Indeed, with a laughy emoji. Sir X-Man drops a very generous $2 additional super chat and says, "Unlike Amazon, Microsoft has always supported Union." And Kia Walker, a very good friend of mine who talks and sends a ton of stuff in DMs, drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Microsoft won't break the contract because they don't other partners would be worried. They will not fulfill the contractors." Yeah, what he's basically saying is that he don't think they will break the contract because others would be worried if they would do the same. I don't think. Again, it would cost them a lot of money, so I don't know one hand of having Call of Duty and breaking the contract and paying for that versus just honoring the contract and having Call of Duty in a couple of years. I don't know. I'm not sure. But listen, Crispy Bomb, I have the article or several articles in front of me. I want to read them to you and get your opinion on it. First of all, the first one comes from us. CNN.com says this: Microsoft on Monday announced that it has entered into a labor neutrality agreement with the Communication Workers of America, known as the CWA, the union that has been supporting Activision and Blizzard's employees in organizing their union effort. We also have one that comes to us from the New York Times and says Microsoft pledges neutrality in union campaigns at both Activision and Blizzard. The accord could ease the path for thousands of workers to unionize at the game company, which Microsoft is acquiring, and addresses the antitrust objection, meaning that they did have a potential antitrust, but no longer. And it says this, and this was written by Noam Schreiber and Karen Weiss. It says this, Crispy: Microsoft and the CWA of America, or Communications Workers of America union, announced an agreement on Monday that they would make it easier for employees to unionize at the video game maker Activision and Blizzard, which Microsoft is acquiring for $70 billion. Under the deal, Crispy, which appears to be the first of its kind in the technology industry ever, Microsoft agreed to remain neutral if any of Activision's eligible U.S. employees want to unionize, and the employees would no longer have to petition the National Labor Relations Board for an election. The company has almost 7,000 employees in the United States, most of whom will be eligible to unionize under this arrangement. Now, Crispy, this is a monster deal. It said right in the New York Times article, this deal is the first of its kind in video games and electronics, and Microsoft is taking the first step forward. This deal, thanks to this union deal, I think that the ABK deal gets done this year. I think that this really does leave the FTC without a leg to stand on, and I think that them getting the deal done this year does a lot for them. One, it gets the deal done. Two, for Xbox gamers, gets a ridiculous amount of games into Xbox Game Pass day and date, like Overwatch 2 and Diablo and many others, specifically Call of Duty. And again, I think that this is probably the last year that Sony will pay or look to pay the $300+ million it costs to lock up marketing rights. I don't think they're going to do that, because once Call of Duty is able, the older Call of Duties to be dropped into Game Pass, people are going to look at Xbox for Call of Duty, no longer looking at Sony. What are your thoughts on the deal potentially happening this year? Does this union deal with Microsoft, that was a big, it was a big story a couple of days ago, do you think that this is the final straw?
I'm no lawyer, okay, but from my experience, Microsoft did something unprecedented.
Yes.
Something that a top 3 to top 10 and just a major company in the entire world would generally not do. You can look at just as far as, a few months ago with Amazon and that fight just for their warehouse workers. Okay. It was a battle, and, they dragged it out. And I think this is where the worry started for the FTC, because, basically Amazon has been stepping on everybody. You know what I'm saying? If you look at it in the headlines and everything else. So, it's just like, does union really hurt? I mean, at the end of the day, if you offer good enough, benefits and all these things without a union, generally you're not going to unionize. I work for a non-union company. Our benefits are pretty good. The only thing that I would like more of is a little bit better healthcare. Okay. But other than that, I get paid well and all that. And I feel the company represents me in the right light. At the same time, this is them saying they are not going to fight union. And what I mean by that is I've been through little, what I'd call little seminars at my work about unionizing and why it's not good for our company. That's why I'm not going to say my company, but that's a lot of things that they'll do. They'll kind of bite back in their own way and try to make unions look bad. And what Microsoft is saying is, we're not going to do that. If they want to unionize, they unionize. Now, keep in mind that they haven't technically unionized yet. So now they've just opened the door for them to unionize and said, we're not going to fight you on this. We're not going to sue. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to go with it. Now, that being said, the FTC gave them a piece of paper, probably said, this is why you're getting investigated. Here's why. So then they look at that and say, oh, we could get rid of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't really, the union thing, that don't bother us, because, we feel we treat our employees well enough. You know what I mean? So, bringing them in would not be a big deal. And this is showing this. So, I mean, what else are they going to do? They're going to say that it's a monopoly. It's going to get done by the end of the year, unless they bring something out of nowhere, because once this is done, this little deal with this union, guess what? They got no leg to stand on at all. They're going to be standing there with their hands in their pockets saying, okay, I guess it's going, and that's what you have to realize, that this is something that most large, huge, $1 trillion companies just wouldn't do. So I don't know. I mean, unless they go and try to say it's a monopoly or something at this point, I don't see any other reason they could block this deal.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. And I think that when you look at, like, for instance, one of the things that they did early on was like the whole money transaction thing. If you want to buy something, like, you have to specifically buy it from Google Store or buy it from Apple using their Apple Pay and stuff. Microsoft came out and said, nah, we don't care where you buy it. You use cash, use this, that, and the other thing, and they're basically just opening the door for anyone that wants to do pretty much anything. And they're saying, hey, listen, FTC, we there should be no issues because you didn't even ask for it, and we're breaking ground, and we're doing it before it's even asked. And I think that's incredibly important. Dave, let's get your opinion on this, brother. What with this new information, with this CWA originally signing a letter of intent to with the Senator Warren and the rest of the New York senators, they have now pulled their support from local government and have made a deal with Xbox. Does that basically suggest to you that this deal now has nothing in front of it to block it?
Yeah, exactly. I really think it doesn't have much to slow it down. And I'm sure there are other, I mean, you got to remember, Microsoft has a massive team, and they spend a lot of money on lawyers in every country that they're going in. So every country has a big, huge team of Microsoft lawyers that are taking care of this and getting things on the fast track. And especially now that things are falling into place, they met the union deal on their terms. So they basically put down and said, okay, cool, we'll let you do this. And basically just, like you said, took the legs out from underneath the argument that was put out there. And they also, by them doing that, showed goodwill, as far as, if for the people looking at it are going, well, they will do this, we'll do this. They've already said that, that there'll be Call of Duty in some form, will be, not an exclusive. We'll still continue to go on. We'll know more about that once the deal is finally done. A lot of people think, like Dealer and Rand think that those kind of that means the free to play, the Call of Duty, that's possible, was Warzone is possible.
Well, they said Call of Duty. They didn't specifically say what Call of Duty, and it makes sense. They also said they weren't going to take games that live on a platform away. So to your point, Dave, that actually makes a lot of sense. If Microsoft wants to be cheeky, and I don't see why they can't, they're spending $70 billion.
Right.
They could turn around and say, hey, listen, you have Call of Duty, and we're constantly updating it, and the free to play one is part 2 is releasing potentially this year. That's constantly going to be updated the same way Fallout 76 is updated, the same way that Elder Scrolls Online are updated. So I think eventually, Minecraft. I think eventually you might be onto something. Maybe Call of Duty mainline actually becomes exclusive.
It could happen. It definitely could, but we won't know that until the deal is done, because they don't want to talk about those things until the deal's done, which is understandable. They don't want to show their hand, as it were, to make anybody upset or to try to have some other kind of falsity. Because technically, if they continue to release Call of Duty Warzone to where it's available on all platforms, then Call of Duty is available on all platforms in that form. And to raise the other point about the other so what's slowing things down maybe is that Sony wants their deal to go through fast, because they want to be able to get these games as a service done, and they want to get out, and they want to be making these kind of bank monies, and they said when they put down the purchase of Bungie, or the pretended, I guess not pretended, but the essential purchase of a Bungie that that they have got. They're going to make them continue to make those on multiple platforms, and that was part of the agreement in purchasing them that the Sony had to agree to. So, but then again, we will see what happens in the future once Sony actually has them. Well, maybe Destiny 2 will continue to be, but if there's a quote unquote Destiny 3 someday, will that be an exclusive to Sony? Maybe so. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Listen, let's get Fuzzy's opinion on this. Fuzzy, let me see. Somebody actually put a really good point in here. Let me see if I could find it. Said something about Warzone. I'll find it in a sec. I'll give you credit. Says that it is the biggest money maker when it comes to free to play, and they're right. Warzone is basically prints money. That's why Warzone 2 is going to be multiplayer. It's never gonna leave PlayStation because it's literally going to be printing money for Xbox.
Why would they pull it if it's making that kind of money?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But for you, hearing what the New York Times had to say, what CNN had to say, what Hogue Law had to say, what are your personal thoughts about this deal going through? How likely do you think this deal gets done before the holiday season?
I was always kind of in the August-September range, so I think this just pushes it even closer to that time frame. Like, I honestly do believe this will be wrapped up before the holiday. The big things that were roadblocks for them along the way, they've either found a way to go over them or go through them without much trouble. So there really isn't much that can stop this deal unless there's something Microsoft finds later and it's like, oh no, we changed our mind. But I don't foresee that happening at this point in time. I think the big thing now is people just need to get ready for that announcement when the ink is dried and everything. And I don't know how much time it'll take for the restructuring, but I would imagine that there's going to be some restructuring at the Activision house. But other than that, I think the big things now is just that before the end of this year, I think that the actual year, the calendar year versus fiscal year, I think this will be wrapped up. But for all of those that were adding senators to block this deal and whatnot, it's kind of like wasted energy at this point. But I don't really foresee anything popping up that will slow this deal down any further or anything along those lines. Sure, there's some still unanswered questions as far as things where I know Activision investigated themselves and they didn't find anything, and that might spark another investigation, like a third party or outside source type of thing. But still, all things considered, I think there's this deal is I want to say inevitability, but I don't want to jinx it, but it pretty much is that. And just look forward to when things change hands, and we'll see how long it takes to get all those Call of Duties in Game Pass. And that'll be the next thing on the checklist.
So Fuzzy says, bring out that Thanos little meme. I am inevitable.
Yeah, I am inevitable. I love it. Listen, you know what? We do have half an hour for the show, so I want to bring up a game that's been the talk of the town for a lot of reasons, guys. Starfield. I want to talk about Starfield for a hot second because one of the big controversies that kind of came and went. I want to get the chat's opinion on this. This is I don't personally care because I can read and text doesn't bother me as long as I'm getting some dialogue. This story comes to us the way of videogameschronicle.com, and I like those guys over there. VGC are fantastic. They every now and again they do a head scratcher, but for the most part they're really a good website. I use them pretty much exclusively outside of the Iron Lords website, which is another one that's phenomenal. Lordsofgaming.net. Definitely keep these two as your go-to for news. It says here, Starfield will feature first-person dialogue scenes and won't voice the main character. Now, there are some people, and many people that I know personally that really have a distaste for voiceless characters. For me personally, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me because I'm more interested to hear what the people, the NPCs are telling me, and I'm just picking a dialogue. So if I pick a dialogue that says, "Yeah, no, kill those pirates," I don't need to say it. I'm saying it by picking the choice, so that's okay for me. But I want to get the pulse of the community. We have 500 people here, which is awesome, and of course we have an amazing panel. Crispy, I want to go to you first on this. This is, again, I don't find it to be that big of a deal, but apparently it is a thing because the Bethesda actually tweeted out when the story broke and says, yes, dialogue in Starfield is in first person and your character does not have a voice, in response to some fan concern over the game's extended showing during the Xbox Bethesda game showcase, where it did show a first-person view rather than a third-person view that we saw come to games like Fallout 4. That third-person dialogue scene, it's not returning, and it's probably for development reasons, but I don't have a problem with it. Like I said, I would rather an up-close personal look at the NPC I'm talking to and hear what they have to say versus a third-person one where it kind of hinders the character. So, Crispy, what are your thoughts, man? Are you disappointed by a voiceless protagonist?
No. It's actually pretty funny to me because, like, literally besides one game, and I'm interested in the chat if they know what I'm talking about, they have always been voiceless.
Yeah, one game.
So,
yep.
So you limit yourself by voicing the character themselves. Like, it wasn't that impressive, when they did it. Actually, a lot of people ended up complaining about it because at the end of the day, it felt like the story was convoluted because you didn't have more interaction with NPCs. You had less because you had to have that voice tree there done by a voice actor. So there's a reason they're doing it. I mean, you got to think of the scale of this game.
Well, they already confirmed there's 1,000 planets, Crispy.
And that's where I go and say, like, everybody's like, oh, well, it's procedural generated. First of all, they've done this in almost every single game. Okay, they've used procedural generation. All right. Also, there's a modding community, people. Okay, like that spaceship not coming, not being able to fly into space. A modder might be able to fix that. You don't know. Okay, we'll see what mods come out as it comes out. These are things that, Bethesda says, you know what? Have fun, go nuts, mess with the whole world. You know what I mean? That's what they've done with just about every game for a long time now. And, I just say, why limit yourself to a certain dialogue when in realism, I give my own voice to that character in my head.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? And when I'm reading it in my voice. So I don't get why people are up in arms. Maybe you just, you look at Outer Worlds and say, oh, that character should have had a voice. I mean, how many games have this where they don't do the voice because it's too much for a voice actor to take on? I mean, we're talking probably they would have to spend a year of their lives, like literally the entire time, talking in different voices just to get probably half of what I think they're going to need for this game. You know what I'm saying? So how long are you going to pay that person? Are you going to get sick of hearing the same voice over and over again? Because you're only going to have, like, one female, one male, and that's probably going to be it. So I don't see the anger. Maybe it's just people want to, pop off at the mouth and say a bunch of stuff, and they probably they probably barely played a Bethesda game, or it's been so long they forgot.
It could also be sour grapes as well.
Something to complain about. I don't see a problem with it, and I also, look at what they've done. They've been doing this. I don't see a reason why they don't continue to do it.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Absolutely. Let's get John Wolfen on the conversation. John, Crispy brings up a great point. Procedural generated worlds, 1,000 worlds. I know there was, again, the controversy of you can't land your own ship. So
Yeah.
Like, do you land your own ship in Destiny? Did
Mass
you
Effect.
Did you land your own ship in Mass Effect?
Exactly.
No. Who
Yeah,
gives a hoot?
Yeah, boom. This is a nothing burger, honestly. Like this is just like you guys mentioned, a combination of everything just coming together, trying to poo-poo the title, trying to bring it down because it is, by all indications, Xbox's biggest title that is coming out in the next 12 months, and they're trying to figure out ways to bring it down and all that good stuff. Look, for me personally, not having a voice isn't a big deal for the type of game that this is, where you're creating your character from scratch. Typically, I find myself always going through the voices on these types of games where you're creating the character, and I really hate all the voices most of the time. And dude, I usually settle because I try to get like some Master Chief sounding guy, and it's always a failure, and I'm always like, all right, I'll settle for this guy that he does the generic grunt 6. You know what I'm saying? So look, to me,
you did that too well, John.
Yeah, it's it's a nothing burger, brother. It really is. And the thing is, look, a game like Spider-Man, for example, I have an idea of what Spider-Man should sound like. I've heard him all my life, so I do expect a voice actor to try to bring that character to life and bring their own spin to it. Batman, and another character that Kevin Conroy. We know what Kevin Conroy sounds like, so we have an expectation of the Joker and stuff like that. But when it comes to these games where you're creating your character, I really don't think it's a big deal. And like Crispy said, I'm usually just reading the choices as the game progresses. I usually end up skipping the voices. Like I've been playing a lot of Diablo Immortal on mobile, and honestly, I don't want to hear the barbarian talk, dude. I don't like his voice. Sounds like just all right, dude. I don't want to hear it. I'm sick of it. After 30 hours, I'm just gonna read it and skip it. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's not a big deal. For anyone out there that's a little bit disappointed, I think that you need to do a better job and a little bit more homework on Bethesda games, because this is pretty normal for them. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that if people are out there trying to use this as ammunition, trying to say, oh look, this title is a bust for these reasons, and this is just another reason, it's not a good reason. And one of the biggest titles of the last 10 years was Breath of the Wild, and I don't remember Link talking in that game either. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, that's why to me it's a nothing burger. If you want to argue about the graphics, about the gunplay, about it having procedural generating planets, all that stuff, okay, you can ask questions and all that. But when it comes to this thing, this no voice character thing, come on, like let's just move on.
Yeah, I mean the scale and scope of this game is so massive. I think you're going to be so engrossed with the combat and just the exploring. I don't think it's going to honestly matter that the person is voiced. But again, that's a great point, John. They've only had one title that was voiced, and that was Fallout 4. And maybe I mean, listen, it's certainly not my favorite Fallout for sure. It's probably the least of my favorite Fallouts. I mean, I put a significant time in there, but with that said, maybe they came to a realization that it was development time that they didn't need to spend,
or they have data, to suggest that people weren't happy with all the voices, and people were skipping it, and just reading it. So
the same thing with the landing of the ship. But I know a lot of people were like, "Well, Bethesda didn't ask me," and I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? They probably didn't." But the landing of the ship thing, that's also a big nothing burger as well. Exactly. Real quick. Before I bring in Web Dave, Jacob Novick drops an additional $2 super chat. Thank you for the generosity. He says, when the ABK deal is done, some people will go bananas. Yeah, it's going to be, and it's going to be big. A lot of conversations. We'll get a more clearer picture of what they can talk about. Then Microsoft, I think, will be very open. I think we will see something similar in the weeks after the announcement that we saw with Bethesda. They're going to sit down with some heads of you might see Rod Ferguson, you might see the head of Blizzard, or ex-employee. For some reason, his name escapes me.
Mike Ibarra.
Mike Ibarra. Thank you very much for the save. You might see him up there. It's pretty funny. They both left Microsoft, and now they're back at Microsoft. It's hilarious. But real quick, we also had another super chat just pop in. Let me find that real quick.
It's a good one too.
Okay, hold on. Let me just get this right here. Where are you? Okay, you know what? I got it here.
Put in the channel.
It says here, Danny Passion Official drops a very generous additional $2 super chat and says, but everyone enjoyed Elden Ring. Wait, no voice.
Exactly.
I put 200 hours into Elden Ring. I didn't beat it. That last boss, he is a real MF and a cheating MF at that. I tried different builds. I got to get back to it.
I can do it.
Man, what a pain, man. The first form, no problem. That second Loch Ness monster form, man, he's such a cheater. Anyway, let me get back to it. Listen, what are your thoughts on this, Web Dave, regarding the voice? Again, there were. I mean, listen, if you have a problem with it, I don't have a problem with it. You know, that's. The modding community might fix that. Crispy's right, and they are definitely celebrating the modding community for sure. Say, hey, go crazy. You know, the modding community is going to do what they do. For you, is it a big deal, or you just don't care?
To be honest, I've played plenty of Bethesda games. I play, the Elden Ring Online. Excuse me, I do Elden Ring. Elder Scrolls Online. I've done it. Dude, sorry, man. We just saw that name pop up that did it to me. But anyway, so and they don't have it. You know, you have your own. You don't have dialogue for him. You have dialogue for the characters and stuff. So I'm used to it, and it works just fine for me. So I have no problem with that. But I do have one thing to say to John, and that is the best voice of Batman is Will Arnett from Batman. That's all I'm saying.
Wow, that's
he did a great job. But come on, man. We know who the GOAT is.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. If I had to pick Web Dave, I think you're onto something. Will Arnett did do a good voice. He did. He has a great voice. But the OG, I mean,
Kevin Conroy, man.
Michael Keaton.
Man.
Oh,
no, not Keaton, but Conroy for sure. Conroy got old, brother. You see him in recent pictures, man. He's getting up there. We got to get him to do some Batman stuff soon, hopefully. See, Ricky Brown in the chat says Abacab 72. Everyone's like coming out for the Kevin Conroy party. I love it.
Smokey says Adam West.
Oh, Adam West. Listen, I grew up. I'm old. I watched that on TV. Yeah, I'm not old. Too. But anyway. Listen, Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this, brother. What are your thoughts on the voiced character? You know, the procedural generated worlds, and you know, I think a lot of the salt that has been thrown at Bethesda might have a lot to do with the delay. Some of it might have to do with the exclusivity on Xbox. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of that salt is because of those two things: the delay and the exclusivity. But as far as the voice acting or the voice non-voice character and, you know, first person view, I'm fine with it. And the main reason why I'm fine with like not having a voice character, I played hours of Destiny and many more hours of Division and Division 2, all of which you create your own character. Never do they have a voice, not once. Everybody else around you talks, but you know, other than like when you're getting into cutscenes, I mean, occasionally you'll have like a third person view as far as with the characters and things like that, or the you know, NPCs. But the first person, I think they're going for more of a traditional RPG aspect where you're just going to be face to face with the NPC that you're talking to. But as far as the no voice, it's a non-starter for me, just for the fact that, you know, so many games out there nowadays where you create your own character, you know, you don't have a voice. So, and Elden Ring was a perfect example. The guy to put that in the super chat. But as far as the not being able to control your spaceship, oh boy! All right, prepare yourself, everyone. You know, the space shuttle, when it re-enters the atmosphere, most of the time it's computer controlled or autopilot. Very rarely did the astronauts ever touch the controls.
Exactly.
Oh man, you just killed it right there.
So, and that was the space shottle. Fast forward to today,
bringing in real life into video games. I love it. This is why we love having you on the panel, brother.
SpaceX Has anybody seen how those rockets land themselves? Those aren't computer controlled. Those are automated. And that was the whole purpose, to make the things reusable. SpaceX being an automated system, so that way it's more affordable, reusable, and so forth. So that's today. SpaceX is not really having, astronauts control those ships. They're just going along for the ride for the most part. I mean, they're there in case the computer controls fail, but most of it's automated. So what do we think is going to happen 300 years from now? More astronaut control or less? I don't know. I mean, we're already talking about self-driving cars today.
Oh, you just burned a lot of people, Fuzzy.
Fuzzy, what you're saying is that Elon Musk is going to be in Starfield. I got cool. Excellent.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of reference. Maybe not his exact name, but there'll be like some sort of billionaire reference.
Fuzzy, just for you, I hope Todd is listening so that he purposely puts anytime that you're going to land or take off, he purposely puts in the game now engaging autopilot.
Yeah, exactly.
Bam! There you go.
Auto land sequence engaged.
That's great. Oh my god, that's you know what? Let me tell you, Fuzzy. That's the comment of the show. We nearly 2 hours.
Somebody should clip that. I'm dead serious. That is beautiful, Fuzzy. That was amazing, man.
This is why he is the driving master, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't subscribed to his channel, man, get over there and subscribe to his channel. Fuzzy, it's just brilliant.
Does he own a Tesla? Brilliant. Just curious.
What's say it again? I'm sorry.
Fuzzy, do you own a Tesla?
No, I was close to getting one of those Model 3s, but
nice.
See, I live in the Northeast, so I had to go back going with a Jeep. So I had my Rubicon, my 4-door Rubicon instead. They were about the same price after the tax rebate and stuff. But at some point, I'll probably get a Tesla. But I think electric wise, I'm leaning more towards the F-150 because I've had one of those, and then you can use it as a battery backup as well.
So it's all about that Jeep life, people.
I want the new Hummer, man. The T-tops.
Oh yeah, but that thing is $100,000. That's way out of budget for me.
Some of us can afford it.
True.
Well, yeah, that's true, but I certainly can't. Listen, why we have Starfield on the plate. And again, we still have a couple of minutes. I don't want to end the show so abruptly because I do want people to hang out and enjoy yourself before you start your weekend. Okay, so the delay happened, right? A lot of people were upset. I was disappointed, sure. Does anyone here honestly believe and jump in, because like I said, we're not going to go round robin because we only have a few minutes left before we get to outros, and I'm going to get the chat involved in this. Todd Howard, who loves dates, he's a date guy. The guy loves specific dates, 11/11/22, this, that, and the third for Fallout 4 when it released. Do we think, because if you look at a Game Pass advertisement regarding Starfield, there's an asterisk, and Starfield is listed at the bottom as saying expected early 2023 for this Game Pass advertisement. No one talked about this. Does anyone on the panel think that we're in June, right? There's still 6 months left of the year, right? If this game releases 3/23/23, because then I would give it a 9-month additional dev time. Anybody confident in the chat that that's going to happen? And anybody on the panel want to jump in and give us your thoughts?
Just real fast, Boom. It sounds nice, right, and very enticing. But I think Todd at this point needs to just stay away from the dates thing, and just if you guys are going to put another date on there, they won't
until it's done. Yeah, they literally have to like we've gone gold and it's releasing. Because they'll do that. They'll go gold. They won't say anything to anyone, and then it will just release.
Yeah,
they'll have a release date. Hey, guess what, folks? We went gold. It's a big story. This date.
It's a big gamble, right? Like if they're confident, just like he was confident on the 11/11, cool. But the thing is that I think that they're setting themselves up for a disaster and failure if, God forbid, anything happens that they cannot meet that date.
Yeah.
What about 3/2/1/2/3?
That's again, he likes dates. He definitely likes those kind of specific dates.
He's got to let it go at this point, though. Boom.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna have to take the L on this one. Boom. Unfortunately,
I think dates. We know we got 3 big games coming out next year. Now they said 12 months, and I think I brought this up on Wednesday. That's where I go and say, I feel like if they can, and if the game's ready, if God of War is delayed or not, if it's not delayed, they're not going to care what they do. But if it is delayed, if they can, if they're able to release Starfield in that same window, I think they're going to try. Because how are you going to go up against a juggernaut? Will you bring something that is 20 years in the making that people are just, I'm sure there's people are like, it's not for me. I get that. But for me, for being what it is, I am just super excited for it. And I think there's a lot of gamers that might only have a PlayStation that might say, like 20, 30 hours in God of War or thousands of hours possibly in Starfield. Man, I can get a Series S for $300. You know what I'm saying? And
by then you don't know, Crispy. It could be 250, it could be 200.
Yeah, and that's where I go and say, dude, like that's kind of where you got to think about it. And also the PC community is growing and growing and growing. A lot of people don't realize how big it's getting. It's getting even bigger than it was. 10 years ago, it felt like it was just a juggernaut. Now you have all these games from Xbox coming on there. People will be like, screw the consoles. I'll just build PC because I know PlayStation's eventually going to do it.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you look at it and you say, like, what do you do to kind of make a small statement as Xbox? You release your biggest title next year. If God of War is delayed, you release it in that same window that God of War releases. If it's ready, if it's not ready, then I say wait until fall, but you shouldn't have did the 12-month thing because then I'm going to call you out for it later. But until then, we'll sit here and say we're supposed to get Redfall, Forza, and Starfield all before June 12th of next year.
Let me
buy what they said.
Right. Let me piggyback off of Boom's question. How many people on the panel here think that what they showed needs all the way until June of next year?
I don't think it does.
No, not
me either.
Probably just tweaking the.
Yeah. It looked. They put a lot of work in the creation engine. It could have looked better. Sure, absolutely. But at the end of the day, is it what I expected and actually kind of exceeded my expectations because of the way it looked? Absolutely. Compared to what I played.
Yep, me too.
Just having the upgrades in Fallout 4 make it a little better, but it's still like you go and look at it on Twitter, after I post a video and it's like, man, this is kind of janky. And I'm like, Starfield didn't make me feel like that at all. You know what I'm saying? So I think, they got to focus on frames. I think that's a big, big part of it. It's going to look the way it looks. It's a Bethesda game.
It'll get there.
What I expected. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. I think the frame rate probably is something that they're probably really focused on because they know they want it to be that immaculate frame rate so that they won't get any kind of grief. And if they can nail that, and I think that's probably one of the things they're tweaking is they're really going to set the bar incredibly high for the next gen. So it's awesome. Plus, if you eventually just have a Samsung TV and a controller, and that's all you need to play it. Of course, it's subscription to Game Pass, but
yeah, no, absolutely. Abacab72 says, "Who's the best Catwoman on the show?" So I think he's talking about the old school Batman, and it's Eartha Kitt. That's it.
Sorry, Boom. Michelle Pfeiffer is always the Catwoman.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good too. But Eartha Kitt was
she was a fox, man, no doubt about that. Back in the days, I that's my pick, Eartha Kitt. But I'm old again. People don't even who the hell's Eartha Kitt.
I'm with you, Boom.
Right there.
I'm with you. I agree with Boom.
Yeah, but listen, ladies and gentlemen. We had an amazing show. Now, before we get out of here, Sir X-Men drops an additional $2 super chances. How many Final Fantasies actually had voice? I couldn't tell you because I didn't play 8, 9, or 10, and I haven't played any of the further ones. So
it's in a private chat too.
Yeah. Oh, let me see. I got another one. Danny Passion Official drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Imagine landing on a planet and there's an alien or a predator." Yes, freaking please. Yes, I would think that would be dope. But let's get to the outros. Let's get everyone the H out of here. It's almost 12 o'clock. I want people to enjoy their weekends, have some fun. Boom, is going to play some games. I'm going to kick the feet up. I'm going to not have to podcast until Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time when we reconvene on the Xbox Factor podcast. This has been, I think I did 6 or 7 shows and I guested on 3. It's been a marathon, and I loved it. I absolutely had so much fun with it. This is my favorite time of year, but it's also a very busy time of year. I hope everyone enjoyed the commentary, the coverage over the E3 week, the show today. I think everyone had some great, fantastic points regarding Final Fantasy VII, regarding the ABK deal, regarding Starfield. This was a great conversation. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. And if you're already here, there's still 450 people here. Hit that like button. But we'll start first with Web Dave. Dave, please sell your brand. Tell everyone about your incredible podcast. Tell them about how you've sat down with some of the industries and community's biggest and finest. And where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, thanks, Boom. You can actually find me at outbreakpodcast.com. That's our website. It has a link to all of our shows that we do there, as well as how to reach us through social media. And then, of course, in the description, I don't think it's updated yet, but Boom will update it with all of our who all the panel is today.
Yep.
And get that in there where you can just click on that after the show post. And then, but yeah, Doom Cutie is up now, and she is awesome. She's funny, and she loves gaming. Her passion for gaming is there. And we also learned a little bit about Australia too, so that's pretty fun.
Nice.
And then of course I got coming up, just recorded last night with Big Cloud, and then I've got an interview set for this afternoon to record with King David. So there you go. More good
nice,
stuff.
Nice, brother. That's going to be a lot of fun. And the king. What could you say? Shout out to Johnny Ravioli. Thanks, what's going on, brother? Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that I at least say hello to everybody. Through chat, and of course, I'll give you a shout out as we do the outros. Crispy Bomb, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where they can find you on the next podcast, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media?
Fuzzy, bro. You gave me I didn't even think of that. Like, my God, you destroyed fanboy narratives in one little 2-minute span, dude. I love it. You made me proud today.
Yes,
gentlemen,
indeed.
it is
best comment of the day. Best comment of the day.
Man, I hope somebody clipped that, because that was glorious. Always a pleasure, gentlemen. Chat, you were on fire, and I didn't see anybody going too crazy in there. Always love to see it. Good conversations is what we're talking about here. At Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live. You can find me on the Retro Renegades Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We got Wednesday primetime gaming, and the next podcast Thursday, 8 p.m. And of course, you might find me back here. You never know. I'll be here when I can.
Oh, we love you. Again, you have the key to the front door, brother. You just walk on in. And Lanzo86, what's up, Lanzo? How you doing, brother? He said the Predator DLC would be nuts. Starfield potential is nuts. Yeah, I absolutely agree. But yeah, Crispy, it's great to have you a part of today's show. It was some hot fire topics. Glad to hear your opinion, and I absolutely agree. Fuzzy just literally destroyed narratives with a 2. I don't even know if it's 2 minutes. It's literally maybe it is 2 minutes. I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna send it to you, Fuzzy. I got to see how to figure out how to do that, because that was just brilliant, literally brilliant. Do they land the space shuttle? Dead. I fell out of my chair, literally.
I just forgot, because I see all these people running with this, and I'm like, I'm just used to it. Like, it's a Bethesda game, and I'm like, Outer Worlds, kind of the same. You didn't even get to fly it at all. You know what I'm saying? So it's like,
science,
at least
baby.
I get to fly. But then I'm like, you remember, Todd said they were trying to make it as believable as possible. Mm-hmm. To what it would be in 300 years. And Fuzzy, you just you made me realize that a lot of people just got egg on their face, buddy.
I love it. That's great. That's great. Well, Fuzzy, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where they can check out your incredible YouTube channel dedicated to all things speed. And where can people find you on other shows and reach out to you on social media?
Well, just want to thank you for having me on, and it was awesome being on here with you guys. Awesome having Crispy back on here as well. Man, oh man. The chat thank you guys for keeping the peace and having good conversations without being abusive to one another and stuff. But man, for anybody that wants to hear my ramblings on anything gaming related, especially with Forza being within the next 12 months, definitely follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. My YouTube also fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on the Xbox Ultimate later on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. Shop Podcast on Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern as well. And also on FSP Monday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then look forward to being back on here next Friday morning at 10 a.m. with you guys.
Yeah, thank you, brother. And John Wolf, sell your brand, brother. Tell everyone where they can check out your incredible YouTube channel, and more importantly, reach out to you on social media.
Autopilot engaged. Thank you. Thank you guys, Boom, again for having me on the panel. It was an absolute blast today, guys, talking about these topics today. Everyone follow me on Twitter. I linked all my YouTube channel there. I was playing Turtles last night, as well as you can hit me up on Xbox or PlayStation. Hit me up. Let's strike up a conversation, play some games, just have some fun, guys. And now thanks to Fuzzy, it's called science, people. Thanks, Fuzzy.
Science is always at the core of a conversation when you're talking Bethesda. Unbelievable. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel. I want to say a big thank you to all of the incredible super chats that came in. My God, there's been so many of them over the course of the last week. And to put back into the community is what me and Mrs. Boom like to do. We are having a Christmas in July giveaway. $400 of digital items will be had. And all you got to do is be in the chat to win one of those prizes. You drop a super chat, you get an extra entry. You're a channel member, you get an extra entry. And again, we'll be announcing what show. It's probably going to be a Breakfast with Boom that we're doing it on a Friday, and one of the upcoming Fridays after the July 4th holiday. But of course, I want to close out today's show with something, folks, that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. That's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he said, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice, son. You live by those rules. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.